Think about it like this. Almost all countries in the world are in debt. America is one of the pioneers of this, breaking records, with tens of trillions of dollars in debt. Europe, Japan, China, Germany, rich or poor, it doesn't matter. Everyone is drowning in debt. In such a situation, a very simple yet strange question comes to mind. Everyone may be in debt, but who actually owns all this money? Who does the world owe it to? Here's the truly interesting part. The world is not actually in debt to a single person or any one country. It is in debt to itself. Because a very large portion of this debt is money that countries owe to each other, and even more so to their own citizens. Governments issue bonds, banks buy them, pension funds buy them, central banks step in, then the state pays the interest with the taxes it has collected, and that money once again flows back into the pockets, pensions, and investments of the citizens. So the system, as you can understand, keeps turning within itself, just like a mirror. However, this does not mean that everyone benefits in the same way or to the same extent. Today, total global debt has reached nearly 3 times the size of the global economy. This is not a coincidence. This system was built this way from the very beginning. Maybe this was exactly what was intended. In fact, the idea of national debt did not come from trade or banks, but from wars. Centuries ago, states ran out of money but still had to fight wars. The solution was simple. We'll give now and take it back later with interest. For the first time, governments began spending money they had not yet earned. In return, what they offered was a promise. Don't worry, I will pay you back this debt. That promise became so powerful that it could be bought and sold. That is how bonds were born. Over time, debt became not a sign of weakness, but a symbol of power. To say, I can borrow, meant, they trust me. And today, the situation is no different. Most of America's debt is not owed to China or anyone else, but once again to America itself. To its own banks, its own funds, its own central bank, and of course its own people. So in reality, we owe it to ourselves. The same thing applies globally. Countries borrow from each other, then that debt turns into another debt in another country, perhaps even paying off a different one, like a chain. And there is only one thing that keeps this chain standing: trust. No one expects the debt to be completely paid off one day. The system is not built on that, and it never will be. Governments do not borrow to pay off debt, but to roll it over. New debt replaces old debt. What really matters is that interest payments are not interrupted, because for major investors, these debts are considered the safest assets in the world. Pensions, banks, and insurance systems are all built on top of them. Here's the strange part. If one day a major country says, I am now completely paying off my debt, this would definitely not be good news. On the contrary, the system would collapse, because an enormous, safe asset would suddenly lose its credibility. That is why debt is not eliminated or reduced, but maintained. But there is an unfair side to this. Interest payments generally flow upward, from workers and taxpayers to those who are already wealthy and rich. So debt is not only a transfer between countries, but also between people. That is why as debt increases, inequality increases as well. The problem is not debt itself. The problem is the belief that this system can continue like this forever, because this system actually relies on a single assumption. Everyone will keep their word, but if one day that trust is shaken, then we will remember what debt really is, and none of us want that. It is not just a number written on a piece of paper or on a screen. It is a promise that must be kept, and no promise can be kept forever.